The last emperor of China watched his empire disappear. Puyi. At 3 years old, he ruled 400 million people. At 61, he swept leaves in a public garden. This is how the last emperor of China lost everything. Beijing, 1908. A 2-year-old boy is taken from his mother in the middle of the night. He screams. He doesn't understand. He just wants to go home. But home doesn't exist anymore, because by morning, he is the Emperor of China. His name was Puyi, and he had no idea what that meant, neither did anyone else. The Forbidden City, 9,000 rooms, 72 hectares of gold and silence. For most people, a dream. For Puyi, a prison. He couldn't leave, couldn't play with other children, couldn't choose his own food, couldn't walk through a door without someone opening it first. Every step was watched, every word was recorded, every breath performed. Think about that for a second. You are 2 years old. You wake up every morning in a palace the size of a small city. Hundreds of people bow when you enter a room. Nobody ever says no to you, and you are completely, utterly alone. He had thousands of servants, but not a single friend, not one person who looked at him and saw a child, instead of an emperor. Outside those walls, a revolution was burning. Puyi didn't know. Nobody told him. In 1912, he was 6 years old. An official entered the throne room, knelt, handed him a document. Asked him to press his seal. Puyi pressed it. He thought it was routine. Just another ceremony. Just another stamp. He didn't know it was his own abdication. He didn't know that outside those walls, China had already become a republic. He didn't know that with one small movement of his hand, 2,000 years of Chinese imperial history had just ended. A 6-year-old boy, a stamp, and a dynasty, gone. They let him stay in the palace, still had servants, still had his title inside those walls. The new republic gave him a pension, kept his eunuchs, maintained the illusion. An emperor without an empire, a king of 4 walls. For a child who had never known anything else, that was enough. He learned English from a British tutor named Reginald Johnston. He rode a bicycle through the imperial corridors. He read Western newspapers. He started to understand that the world outside was enormous, and that he had seen none of it. He was curious. He was intelligent. He was desperate to matter, and he was completely powerless to do anything about it. Until one day, even the illusion was taken away. If you're new here, this channel tells the stories history textbooks summarize in 2 sentences. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. October 1924. Soldiers at the gate. The warlord Feng Yuxiang has decided the emperor's charade is over. He sends a message. Puyi has hours to leave. No negotiation, no ceremony, no dignity. Just go. Puyi walks through the hall of supreme harmony, the hall of complete harmony, the hall of preserving harmony. 300 years of his family's history in the walls around him. He reaches the Meridian Gate. He walks through it. He closes the door behind him. He stands on the other side, and for the first time in his life, there is no one telling him where to go next. He is 18 years old. He has never bought food, never hailed a car, never carried his own bag, never made a single decision without someone approving it first. He is the last emperor of China, and he has absolutely no idea how to be a person. He ends up in Tianjin, the Japanese concession, foreign territory where the new government can't touch him, Western suits, tennis courts, champagne at dinner, the ghost of royalty. He still has advisors, still has courtiers, still has people around him who bow and call him emperor, but he can feel it, the weight of irrelevance. The slow suffocation of a man who was built for a role that no longer exists. And the Japanese, they're watching all of this very carefully. They have a plan. 1931. Japan invades Manchuria. They need a face, a name, something that looks like legitimacy on paper. They call Puyi. They offer him a throne. Manchukuo, a new state, a new empire. His name on every document. It's a lie and he knows it. He will have no real power. Every decision will come from Japanese advisors. He will be a stamp, a puppet, a costume over their occupation. He knows all of this. And he says yes, because a false throne still feels like a throne when you've spent years wandering without one. Because the hunger to matter, to be someone, is more powerful than almost anything else in human nature. Puyi was not weak, he was human. And that distinction matters. For 13 years, Manchukuo, he signs orders he didn't write, attends ceremonies he didn't choose, stands in photographs that will be used to justify things he cannot say out loud. His wife becomes addicted to opium. His second wife is institutionalized. He lives inside a performance that never stops. And slowly, very slowly, something in him starts to understand what he has done. At his war crimes trial after the war, they ask him, "Why didn't you refuse? Why didn't you resist? You were the emperor. Why didn't you say no?" And Puyi looks at them, quiet for a moment. "I was afraid," he says. "I had always been afraid. Not of the Japanese, not of punishment. Afraid of being nothing. Afraid that without a title, without a role, there was no Puyi at all." 1945. The Soviets sweep into Manchuria. The empire collapses in days. Puyi runs. He packs what he can, makes it to an airport. He's on the tarmac, boarding a plane to Japan. Soviet soldiers surround him. He is captured. The last emperor of China, arrested on a runway, luggage in hand, nowhere left to run. Siberia, 5 years. No servants, no eunuchs, no one to lay out his clothes in the morning. For the first time in his life, completely alone with himself. The other prisoners are soldiers, officers, men who have survived real things. They look at this man who cannot dress himself, and they don't bow. They teach him how to wash his own cup, how to make his own bed, how to stand in line and wait like everyone else. He is 40 years old. These are the first useful things he has ever learned. And something, very quietly, begins to shift. 1950. China requests his return. Mao's government wants to make an example, not of punishment, but of transformation. The last symbol of the old world remade into a citizen of the new one. Puyi spends 9 years in the Fushun War Criminals Management Center. He attends classes, writes confessions, thousands and thousands of pages. He examines every decision of his life, every moment he looked away, every signature he pressed without asking what it meant. He gardens, he cooks, he cleans the floors, and he starts for the first time to see the people around him. Not as servants, not as subjects, not as furniture in the backdrop of his life, as people. He writes in his memoir, "I had spent my entire life surrounded by people, and I had never once seen them." Do think about how many of us could say the same thing. How many of us are living inside our own forbidden city, walls we built ourselves or walls that were built around us, and calling it normal. Drop a like if this story is hitting different. And if you want more of this, subscribe. New story every single week. 1959. He is pardoned by Mao Zedong. Puyi walks out. He is 53 years old. He has never paid rent, never taken a bus, never bought groceries, never stood in line at a pharmacy. He has to learn to live. He gets a job at the Beijing Botanical Garden. He sweeps leaves, waters plants, prunes trees in the early morning before the visitors arrive. People walk past him without a second glance. An elderly man in simple clothes working quietly among the flowers. The man who once commanded 400 million people. Invisible. And here is the part that stops me every time I read it. Everyone who knew him in those years says the same thing. He was happy, really, finally, genuinely happy. Which sounds impossible, because by then, he had lost an empire, lost his throne, lost his freedom, lost nearly everything the world told him he was supposed to want. And yet, he marries for the 5th time, a nurse named Li Shuxian. Not chosen by advisors, not arranged by dynasties, not selected by committee, chosen by him. He takes the bus to see her. He carries flowers he bought himself. He makes decisions, small, ordinary, human decisions. And they feel, he says, like the most extraordinary thing he has ever done. For the first time in 50 years of life, he is not performing an emperor. He is just a man. And it turns out, that was all he ever wanted to be. Puyi died October 17, 1967, during the Cultural Revolution, quietly, without ceremony, no imperial rites, no eunuchs lining the corridor, no dynasty to mourn him. Just a man who had been, at different moments in the same lifetime, an emperor, a prisoner, a puppet, a war criminal, a student, and a gardener. Before he died, someone asked him what his life had meant, what all of it, the palace, the thrones, the prisons, the garden, had added up to. And the last emperor of China said, "I was a terrible emperor." Pause. But I think, in the end, I became a decent human being. Maybe that's the only throne worth holding. Maybe the whole point of power, of loss, of everything in between, is just that. To become, finally, decently human. If the story of a man who lost everything made you feel something tonight, the like costs you nothing and means everything to this channel. Subscribe. Every week, a story like this one. People history reduced to footnotes, lives too strange and too real to summarize. You don't want to miss the next one. It's already waiting for you.